A lot of people like to say, I don't need approvals to build, right? I have my money cash. I don't need a bank. However, that may be so today, years down the road, if you want a mortgage, and it's something that Mr. Charles brought up today, very interestingly, the bank is not going to touch that property years after because it does not have the requisite approvals. So considering stakeholders is important when entering your contracts, all right?
Correct.
But in terms of, I want to just, 𝗕𝗂𝗧, break down like real life here, right? Because I think we are the best people to make this as real as possible, right?
Yes,
and I have seen this happen. I have lawyer brain, you have construction brain. Let's just go from there, right? And we want to build something together. And we do know of a client, we do know of someone personally who is an attorney at law, experienced litigator attorney at law. I think she's here today, and end up in a lot of hot water with her contractors before having met you. So it's not like if, lawyers could get away and contracts save you all the time.
Correct.
Let's talk about the meeting of the mind.
Right. So this is well interesting because a lot of times we may be minded to think about the contract as something that gives the owner of the project leverage over the contractor, but then there's also the contract should also protect the contractor from the owner. And I can tell you, I have had clients, especially in my early career, where they will tell you they want X. Yeah, they will tell you they want X, and then they tell you they want X plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and they're not paying you. And they first of all, their intention is to pay you for X alone plus 1 plus. They're not paying for 1, 2, and 3. And they waiting until you finish 1, 2, and 3 for you to get your money.
Well, you be honest, you all be doing that to contractors.
They do it. So again, and as Ms. Danielle said, we're getting practical. We're getting very real as to what actually happens out there in the field, especially with these kind of made up contracts. A contract has to have a proper designed scope of work, which is why I was saying just now, it needs to be designed. It needs to be designed with all stakeholders in mind. It needs to be designed with what exactly it is you want. We had a client a couple of weeks ago. She said she wanted a particular plot. She said 63. When we went to get 63, we are about to do 63, it's really 62.
Yeah.
Before you build, to do a contract, site visit, go and see it, measure it. Go as the old carpenter adage, measure twice, cut once. It does not make sense that you and I feel we know, and yes, we talk on the phone, and you say that and that and that, and you end up and you do up a contract. We do up a contract because we build in 10 meters of box drain, but when we go on the site, it's really 25, and the client don't want to hear that it's twice the price because we agree on that price.
Right? Correct.
And so at the end of the day, so far we're being very real. So we're looking at have a site visit done with both parties. I live in the States, go down on the land now, don't worry, you go ahead. With both parties or somebody representing the parties. Site visit is very, very important. And all of this is for the contract. Notice all of that what we're talking about is before the contract is drafted. You do your site visit. After your site visit, you need to
continue, Mr. Paul. Mr. Charles mentioned something about concept, right? And I think the concept gets into place even in the site visit. When we do the site visit, I guess the client could be able to discuss what is really their concept there for you to conceptualize what they really want. And he would have also mentioned the feasibility of what the client may want. Can the land that you're on actually take it? We have a very nice client that came in this week. She is the owner of a contracting company, and she said, Miss Danielle, the land was not flat. I told the man that he showed me the cadastral sheet and no problem, but and we don't understand this as the layman with construction. If I see a square, the square is the square.
All on a flat land.
Right? But she was she was explaining with the slope, there are certain things, and it took the billing from 1.1 million to 1.6, right? Correct. But the man say the contract have 1.1, and all I have is 1.1.
Correct.
Where you want to get money from?
Yeah, exactly. And then you're in a stalemate. And so and one of the parts of a contract, which we will talk about in a little bit, I know we have a lot going on, but is the mediation portion of a contract, is how are we going to resolve these things?
Thank you.
How to resolve these things. Because everybody have the best of intentions when we start.
Correct.
The best of intentions when we start. But if, in the rare occasion, let's say rare, right? Because nobody will fall out in Trinidad. Nobody falls out in Trinidad. We are the clearest of communicators. We are the most understanding bunch in the world. But just in case, there must be some sort of mediation of some sorts of what will be done if indeed I as the contractor or you as the client, right? And that's why the FIDIC book of contracts speaks to those things. It speaks to the fact that if the client stop paying you, what is your redress? Your redress might be 21 days with a letter. After that 21 days.
So wait, Mr. Paul, because we know we both excited about this, right? So let's compartmentalize our excitement for this discussion. And we encourage you guys, it's not just us here, talk to us, ask us questions, raise certain topics. We're really happy to hear from you and let us know how we can tailor this discussion, because remember, these webinars are ready for your edification and for your help. If you or someone that you know is going through these construction woes, how can you get the practical information to assist you to get you where you need to be and not to waste your money? As Mr. Charles said earlier, sometimes for many of you, this is your whole life savings. You're seeing going up here. It's all your plans. This is not money to play with, all right? So for the purpose of structure, I would have earlier spoke about the parts of a contract legally: offer and acceptance, consideration, intention to create legal relation, that kind of thing. I want to talk now about elements of a construction contract and the sections it ought to have, because Mr. Paul spoke there about redress and many of you all don't have that. A construction contract ought to have a scope of work section that literally identifies and itemizes what you want the contractor to do. What is the concept that you expect him to have? There should have a section that speaks about drawings. There should be a part that is labeled specifications, right? What is specifications of the job? There should be one that speaks about authority, the statutory authorities involved. Remember, Mr. Paul spoke about what you said?
What you're mentioning, all those documents must also have a priority. Must also have a priority, which one you're going to first, and if not, then what you're going to second and what you're going to third. Because a man might go to drawings, but the drawings are against the specifications. So you need to know your order or your priorities of documents. Keep going.
Yes. Another important thing you want in a construction contract is the terms at the time frame, time for completion.
Correct.
That can only be discovered when you have your scope of work and you want to put reasonable. Contractors only do some reasonable times now. You know, one of the favorite things I think contractors like, yeah, we could do that. Yeah, you want a pipe that go? Yeah, we could. I do that already. I built 400 houses. I can.
And the other part. The other one too, on the heels of that, it's understanding in Trinidad, we in Trinidad and Tobago, there's something called the rainy season.
Right.
It don't make sense. You're going and build a whole set of box train in August, in the middle of the hurricane season, and we know, and you want to keep this to a certain time frame. Event of rain, who signs off on what? What signs? All of these parts are part of a contract that protect you. Look, Miss Eastland saying I got burned twice. No contract because I knew the contractor. Well, before you build, if you know the contractor, stop.
Forget that.
Stop.
Forget that. Don't once you know the contractor personally.
And I'm sure we've all.
Don't go there.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not willing to sign a contract. Especially if you bring up the contract story and they're gonna say, well, I know your father from problems. But keep going, Ms. Daniel, in terms of the parts.
Right. One of the things also cause a problem is the cost and payment terms, right? So I like to, in my contract, we have of course, these are all, and if I'm representing the contractor, I'll make sure and put a clause that mentions that these are all estimates, and that, it could fluctuate reasonably because that the cost of things change during the year. And it's something that contractors, I listen to your complaint about that hardware has raised their prices, the cost of nails during a project. So all these things are what contractors need to look to calculate and sort of project and predict, right? But cost and payment terms are important. A good thing to do in a construction contract is to have matching the scope of work to little time frames in that. Deadlines, cost matching the deadlines, and how are you paying for that? You get paid for phase 1, finish, phase 2, and this is something we do at the firm as well. When we have technical projects, we know how the client is to pay, at what juncture would these things be due, and it helps both parties. You find the money as a client and you as a contractor know how your cash flow is going so that you could manage your workers. Workers is a next topic in construction by themselves.